Yeah, well, as cases rise, Mel, and they are rising, we're tracking the development of this vaccine and when it will be distributed. Everyone wants this curve, right, to be flattened. The one Pfizer is working on, this vaccine, could be delivered as soon as December 15th right here in the U.S., and this is according to the federal government's Operation Warp Speed. Our Rick Adams joins us in studio to break it all down for us and how we're going to get it and what the differences are between them. Good morning. Only you can tell it like you do.
Good morning. Did somebody order the British guy? Here I am. Thank you, Giselle Vin. 1798 was an amazing year. Why? Because the platypus was discovered. Yeah, you weird little freaky thing. Make up your mind. What are you, a duck or a beaver, you crazy weirdo? 1798 was also a great year for vaccines. Yes, 222 years ago, the world's first vaccine was developed, and it was for smallpox. And why is it we haven't heard much from Mr. Smallpox since 1980? Did he lose his pager? No, it was actually the vaccine. Turns out they're pretty useful things. And in this Virtually Rick, I'll explain you the mRNA vaccine and how it works. It's fascinating. Please roll it, Mr. Juan.
The latest vaccines for COVID-19 are the new kids on the block. Unlike the past, where vaccines contain parts and pieces of a dead or deactivated virus's protein or antigen, with the new vaccines, you're not being given a protein. You're being given genetic material, a tiny strand of code that instructs your body's cells to actually build a coronavirus protein yourself. This then kickstarts your body's defenses. And it's this process that more precisely mirrors what your body would normally do if it had a natural infection. The reason scientists have not been able to do this before now is because they were just too delicate to create, as they were easily destroyed by our body's immune system. Let's focus specifically on the two most imminent vaccines that are both mRNA, or messenger RNA-based vaccines. They're injected directly into our muscle cells. mRNA already exists inside each of our trillions of cells, and it's used by our DNA, our body's recipe book, as a way to send a message, hence the name, to our cells' factories to build proteins and thus, doctors say, activating our defenses efficiently and naturally to produce antibodies without any risk of infection. And it's these vaccines that are being produced by Moderna and Pfizer. mRNA vaccines can be developed reasonably quickly and effectively, but this will be the first time they've been produced on such a massive scale, so their effectiveness will also rely upon how exactly and correctly they can be reproduced over and over and over again. mRNA vaccines will need months more use and feedback, but this is an emergency situation, and science has, thanks to millions of brains in concert, created an incredible answer in record time. For now. Thank you, brains.
Oh, you're welcome, Rick.
What's good about mRNA vaccines is that scientists say the risk of them going back into the cell's nucleus and messing with our DNA, creating other illnesses, is highly unlikely. It's just not how they work. They're not gene therapy either. They can easily be re-engineered to compensate for any mutation of the coronavirus too. Our bodies also break down mRNA in a very short space of time, but it has to be present long enough to make the coronavirus proteins, and then it's up to our bodies to make the immune response, and that's what determines how long it takes to build up immunity. Because of this, we also don't know how long they'll protect us from the virus, or whether they'll stop us from being reinfected long term. That's why we need to have 2 injections weeks apart. It's a way to be exposed twice. The first one primes our immune system, and then the second one ensures our body reacts to the threat, producing greater amounts of antibodies ready to fight off infection. In the future, mRNA vaccines in particular could lead to finding solutions not just for the coronavirus, but also for the flu, rabies, and other pandemics or pathogens that will inevitably come our way, ensuring the global health of all our nations and making certain that the human race keeps on running way past the finish line.
Vaccines are complex and amazing things, and I think it only goes to show how much more we need to learn about the human body. We know more about space than we do our own brains, and this whole gruesome experience has certainly been very humbling, but it also goes to show how incredibly resourceful the human race can be when its back's against the wall.
Yes.
And if we can figure all this out, just imagine what else we can solve together. I just wanted to leave you with a warm and fuzzy.
But that
Love
is
that.
kind of true, don't you think? We thought about it. I
Yeah.
mean, if you put your mind and your money toward it, you can come up with a cure relatively quickly. So for the folks out there who go, is this safe? What would you tell them?
Well, I spoke to several important, special people who have been in this field for a long time, and one immunologist who'd been in it for about 10, 15 years, studying this intimately, is really talking about this kind of a vaccine. It's something that is using the body's own ability to manufacture, and it's also using code that isn't actually DNA at all. People talk about it being a DNA vaccine. It's not. It's essentially just a line of machine code, in a sense, that goes into the body, and it's designed to, well, it's used by the body, and it doesn't last long in the body naturally anyway. So it will be in your body for 24 to 48 hours and then dissipate. And it's really, as safe as it can get from what they can say. There's a lot of debate about vaccines. We don't have time to talk about all of the issues, but generally, immunologists are saying it's a pretty safe bet.
And our top scientists are going over it right now, reviewing to see if they're going to let it go through for emergency use. And that will happen, I guess, today or tomorrow, we're being told. Thank you, Rick, as always.
Hope is just around the corner.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Rick Adams.
Let's run for it.
You are our light
Go.
this morning. Thank you. Yes. All right, we get out to break. That is a live look at Long Beach. That's the Long Beach Terrace Theater. Long Beach has such a vibrant arts community.
And
Stay
it's
with
beautiful.
us. It sure is.